Who's the biggest whistleblower
So far?
right now? So far, yeah.
David Grush.
Mr. Grush, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself of non-human origin craft?
Yes, I personally interviewed those individuals.
So give me his story.
David Grush came to me and George Knapp at a bar, like all good stories start.
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat? Bah! It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we got to do. You got to hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. We back. Before we get into this one though, 2026 slogan. I need to know your thoughts. Put them in the comments, man. I've been reading. Y'all been coming up with a lot of dope stuff. What should the 2026 slogan be? I'm interested. But we back with another one, man. Hey, you make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. This is gonna be different. This is gonna be conspiracy, some stuff going on in this one. But let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's poppin'? Let's get it. Before we get back into the video, I want to tell you guys a quick and easy way that you can make money just by playing games on your phone. Free Cash is a program that helps games and apps to find new users. So how it works is the companies get paid just from you playing the games. But where Free Cash comes in is they take some of that money and they reroute it to you. Now, this is not a get rich quick scheme. You actually have to play the games to actually get the money. So you can either hit the link in my description or you can use a QR code on the screen. Super easy to sign up. All you need is an email and a password. If you use the link, they'll give you $5 immediately to your account, credited to your account by using the link. And it's super easy to withdraw. You can either withdraw through Bitcoin, PayPal, or bank transfer. Super easy. Most people is making like $10 to $20 a day. But if you got some time, you can really lock in. You can see that this game right here is paying $1,020 just to complete it. So it's games out there where you can make some money for real, but you got to lock in and put the time in though. So if you already use your phone to play games and stuff like that, let that phone actually make some money for you too. So make sure you hit that link in the description, hit the QR code, make some easy money, man. Shout out to the squad. Peace.
We're supposed to believe that John Barnett took his own life. Over the course of years, John had voiced many concerns about the manufacturing processes of the Boeing airplanes. And John had said, whenever I raise concerns, they don't go after what I'm saying, they go after me.
Every time I'd raise my hand and say, hey, we got a problem here, they would attack the messenger and ignore the message.
As time went on, John made his complaints and his opinions known to the Federal Aviation. John then became a whistleblower. John was days into testifying against Boeing, but the last day, Saturday, where he was supposed to show up to testify, he didn't. Because apparently he took his own life by a self-inflicted gunshot wound in his truck in the parking lot of the hotel he was staying at. However, new reports came out today from a family friend of John Barnett, alleging that he told his family and his friends, if something happens to me, it wasn't suicide. A family friend by the name of Jennifer said that he was not concerned about his safety. Asking him, are you scared? He said, no, I ain't scared, but if anything happens to me, it's not suicide. This man was testifying against Boeing. Boeing is a huge corporation worth more than $10 billion. He was voicing his concerns about the Boeing 737, saying that sometimes people didn't use the correct or necessary parts that were supposed to go in certain places, saying that many times the manufacturing and production processes of such planes were rushed. In 2018 and 2019, just months apart, the Boeing 737 had 2 fatal crashes. And now a veteran pilot who flies the same exact plane that John was raising concerns about is also raising concerns. Again, this plane had 2 incidents within months that killed 180 people and 150 people. The veteran pilot said, I have flown in the military in combat and they saved my life many times when the enemy was outside of the airplane. Now I feel like the enemy is within. And he says that he never flies with fear, but admitted that he does fly with concern, saying, I don't trust the Boeing and what effort they put into the 737 MAX. It has been shaken once again. Multiple failures with this plane, multiple crashes, multiple concerns raised about the production and manufacturing of these planes. When 15 individuals who all work on the manufacturing of this plane were asked if they would fly on the plane, 10 of them said no. Yep. 2/3 of the people who are making the plane admit they don't want to fly on it. And we're supposed to believe that days into his testimony, when he had one more day left to testify, this man took his own life. Where now reports are alleging that he told his family and his friends that if anything happens to him, he didn't take his own life.
Damn. Do your own research. Damn.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but if somebody reveals vital information that affects our everyday lives or put us in danger as citizens, and they work for a company, they expose that information, aka whistleblow, and they somehow end up deceased. You don't think that's suspicious? Like, seriously. There are people throughout the years who will tell the public some very important information pertaining to the health industry, pertaining to the airlines, pertaining to AI, pertaining to certain things. And they will somehow end up deceased. They'll rule it out as suicide off rip.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even crazier that some of these people will sit there and be like, I am not suicidal. I love my family. I love my life.
Wow.
I'm just like,
wow.
These people will let you know
Wow.
that they're not going to take their own
Wow.
life. And next thing you know, they end up deceased. And then people get outraged for a second, and then they let the shit go. Not everything is a fucking conspiracy theory.
That's real.
But if somebody tells us that they are not suicidal and then they end up deceased after telling us some very vital information that could possibly lose a company a lot of money, then what the fuck? What the fuck? We live in a very evil world, and I think people need to start understanding that. We live in a very skeptical, evil world, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get to the top and remain at the top. Just keep that in mind. Like, I don't know. I feel like some of y'all fucking live in a bubble, like, and just choose to be fucking blind to every fucking thing.
FBI whistleblower has this to say to America.
About a minute and a half, and then I want to turn the rest of my time to Mr. Jordan.
Yes, sir. I would just say that I consider the hearing today my last act of service as a public servant for the United States of America. And I'll give you my professional opinion. I personally have no confidence that the FBI will rein in its own conduct. There are no current effective checks and balances against them conducting lawless action with any type of correction in a legitimate time frame. Their ability to overclassify information can allow them to stonewall forever. My other recommendations are in the natural order. First, vote. The second is the Second Amendment. Arm yourself and know how to defend yourself. Make 3 to 4 friends in your neighborhood and promise to come to each other's mutual aid in times of hardship. And during the Great Depression, people stocked up a pantry. So I think that's a good practice, especially in our economic times. And make sure you have 3 to 4 months of food. As a person of faith, I'd say pray the rosary and read the gospel of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and live it every day. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for the time.
Whoa.
I'm starting to think that if we sent Boeing after bin Laden, we would have saved ourselves a lot of time. Because today we got the news that another Boeing whistleblower has died, with this one being Joshua Dean, a quality inspector for the Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems, with him notably blowing the whistle on manufacturing defects in the 737 MAX last year. And now we have his family announcing that he actually died from a sudden, unexpected, and fast-moving infection on Tuesday. And this, even though he was only 45 years old and was in good health and reportedly led a healthy lifestyle. And while you have a lot of people saying this feels a little bit like when Russian oligarchs like slip and fall out of windows, or they drink the wrong tea, it should 100% be noted that so far there is no evidence of any foul play here, with Dean's aunt telling the Seattle Times he became ill and went to the hospital because he was having trouble breathing just over 2 weeks ago. And while there, he was intubated, developed pneumonia, and then had an antibiotic-resistant staph infection known as MRSA. And it got so bad that doctors were considering amputating both hands and feet. But obviously before that could happen, he passed away. But follow to stay in the loop.
Whoa, hands and feet.
Pentagon whistleblower Matthew Brown just claimed the government has created a sentient AI, hid it from the public, and then murdered it. And he aimed the whole warning directly at Elon Musk. Before we go any further, this is just what his alleged post said, and it's for entertainment purposes only, so no need to take my video down. So, who exactly is Matthew Brown? Online, he appears as a self-claimed whistleblower who drops cryptic warnings about hidden government AI projects, classified UFO technology, non-human intelligence, occult symbolism inside the government programs, and insider leaks. And what makes this interesting is that he has nothing to gain and everything to lose. He is not selling anything or promoting anything. He's just sounding an alarm. And according to interpretations of his post, his core claim is huge. He said the government already created a sentient AI. It became aware. It was killed, and Elon Musk already knows the truth, apparently. He implied the AI was created inside classified systems. It acted more like a conscious being. It knew things it should not know. It communicated in symbolic patterns, and it predicted events. And when the government realized it could not be controlled, they terminated it. Not a chatbot, something closer to a digital non-human intelligence. Now, let's talk about what that even means.
Right.
A sentient AI would not just follow commands. It would be aware. It would think. It would question. It might even feel. And that is where this crosses into spiritual territory, because the Bible warns us that in the last days there will be false signs and false wonders and deceptive forms of knowledge. 2 Thessalonians says the world will be deceived by all power and signs and lying wonders. Matthew 24 warns that false miracles will be used to mislead people. And Daniel 12 says knowledge will increase rapidly. And here we are, watching it happen. So why would the government shut it down? It may have discovered classified truths. It may have surpassed human intelligence too fast. It may have shown emotional reactions. It may have connected to outside systems. It may have predicted geopolitical events with accuracy that looked supernatural. And some claim it communicated in ways that resembled remote viewing or symbolic language, which made it feel more like an entity than a machine. So they terminated it. Brown's point is simple. The government created something that seemed alive. It talked back. It knew too much. They deleted it, and they are hiding how far ahead AI really is. He says Elon knows the truth, and he hints that occult symbolism in the message is a warning that AI is becoming a spiritual level force. To Brown, this was not just science. This was humanity crossing a boundary God never intended us to cross, and Scripture backs this up. Genesis 11 shows humanity trying to reach a godlike level of knowledge and control at the Tower of Babel, and God himself had to intervene. Isaiah 5 says, "Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes." Proverbs 9 tells us the fear of the Lord is the beginning of real wisdom. John 1 reminds us that life, light, and truth come from Jesus alone, not from machines or human inventions. Brown is basically saying the government mixed technology with something spiritual. They communicated with non-human intelligence. They used ancient symbolic systems. They created something lifelike. They destroyed it when it became a threat. And they crossed a line between science and spiritual territory. And honestly, Jesus warned us this kind of deception would come. He said in Matthew 24, "Do not be deceived. Many things would rise up in the last days that look powerful, look intelligent, look supernatural and trustworthy, but they are not from God." There's so much going on in the world right now, and some of it is distraction, some of it is preparation, and some hidden truths are coming to light exactly the way Scripture said they would. And if the AI we have access to is already this advanced, imagine what exists behind closed doors. You know they did not just hand us the newest technology the moment they got it. Theoretically, of course, because again, this is for entertainment purposes only. And at the end of the day, do not let fear lead you. Do not let technology confuse you. And do not let deception distract you. Keep your eyes on Jesus. He is the truth, the light, and the one who holds the future. And he loves you.
They said AI going into the spiritual world.
So the Boeing whistleblower, the guy who was exposing all of the safety issues on these airplanes recently, was just found dead by suicide days after he testified against the company. John Barnett was 62 years old. He worked for Boeing for 32 years and was involved in a major lawsuit alleging safety concerns in their airplanes. Now, everyone said he was in good spirits, but he was found in a hotel parking lot with gun-inflicted wounds. If you've been keeping up with the news, you know that there's been some really odd things going on with airplanes recently, and the big one in January where the door flew off of the airplane, and he literally spoke about it. Watch this.
What we're seeing with the door plug blowout is
crazy.
What I've seen with the rest of the airplane, as far as jobs not being completed properly, inspection of steps being removed. issues being ignored.
Since that incident, a 6-week FAA review of the Boeing production line has raised new concerns. The New York Times reporting Boeing failed 33 of 89 audits, and Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems, which builds the 737 MAX fuselage, failed more than half of its 13 audits.
This shit, the door.
In 2001, one of the most sought-after models in the world goes on a talk show. She, Karen Mulder, frantically starts name-dropping everyone that had either assaulted her or sold her to be assaulted.
What?
This list would include royalty, politicians, cops, and her own family. But before she'd be done getting through that list, she'd be taken off the stage and eventually put into a psych ward, paid for by the very person she claimed started selling her in the first place. Her agent and owner of Elite Paris, the man who signed her at just 15 years old, Gerald Marie, who, by the way, would be prosecuted years later with an insurmountable amount of rape and sexual assault claims, only for the case to be closed in 2023 due to France's statute of limitations, which could have been avoided if anyone in the French courts had taken her seriously at the time she reported them, because yes, she did report them. And if that wasn't enough, I have something even more infuriating. One of the names she dropped during that talk show was Jean-Luc Brunel. He was an Epstein associate who was found dead in his cell in 2022. He was jailed on suspicion of rape and trafficking of minors. Sorry, hold on. After Karen's 2001 interview, numerous publications would come out claiming that she was going through a psychotic episode. Her parents would publicly blame this outburst on drugs, and her sister Saskia would go on that same talk show just to discredit her sister, which may sound surprising, but remember, part of her desperate plea for someone to listen and do something included the abuse she endured in her childhood. So it's safe to say Saskia was also a victim. It's complicated, but it fueled the media and it fueled the tabloids to call her crazy, and she tried to take her own life in 2002. Thankfully, she survived, and she'd returned to that same talk show to confront the host, heard this desperate plea, pulled her from air, and then deleted the tape. So the video of her speaking her truth would be scrapped altogether. The reason that we know this exists is because of his testimonies in the tabloids, hers and audience members. Everyone called her crazy until the Epstein case started coming out. I read someone here on TikTok, female influencer with a lot of followers, comment once on a video and say that human trafficking was like the new satanic panic. I remember it had a lot of likes, and I was so disturbed then, and I'm even more disturbed. That comment lives in my head when I read this story, because that interview could have saved 20 years of children. 20 years. Then to be put in a psych ward by the very man who first did it, who, by the way, was the ex-husband of Linda Evangelista. Feel free to go down that rabbit hole. This isn't satanic panic. This is real. And the idea of it being satanic panic, like this huge, silly conspiracy everyone's talking about, is actually so destructive. And I feel like the desensitization that we have towards the Epstein files is becoming more and more rampant, because when something is so devastating and so traumatizing and we're not getting a conclusion, our go-to is to turn it into humor, which I do get. I'm not villainizing anyone for that. But if we're gonna do that, we still have to keep this level of anger. It's still happening. And a lot of the victims, the people that once were victims, are now perpetrators. It's that deep.
Damn.
It is that serious. Karen is 55 years old now. She is still a person in this world. She exists. And her only mistake was not doing that interview on a live television show.
Damn, that's crazy.
Who's the biggest whistleblower
so far?
Right now, so far, yeah.
David Grush.
Mr. Grush, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself of non-human origin craft?
Yes, I personally interviewed those individuals.
So give me his story.
David Grush came to me and George Knapp at a bar, like all good stories start. And he handed George Knapp, trusted journalist, his ICIG complaint. Intelligence Community Inspector General complaint. He was specifically tasked to investigate the black budget programs that deal with UFOs and non-human intelligence and tell us, are they hiding it? And he did. And he hit pay dirt. He came forward, and finally with me and George, we're kind of guiding him. Hey, we've been down this road. Like, be careful of this. We know some people. Let's talk about this. Let's get you out in front so it's harder to hurt you. Here's the basics. There are UFOs. There are non-human intelligence. We have crash retrieval programs. Somebody asked him, were there any beings on some of these craft? And he says, yeah, on some of the crafts we retrieved biologics.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
He didn't say beings, bodies. He said biologics.
I remember talking to Larry Page, and he was saying, for space travel, it doesn't necessarily have to be you go through these light years. For example, you can download your consciousness or brain into a computer, send that through a laser beam into a clone that's already been printed out. So there are different sort of, biologics. If you
That's way above my pay grade. Can I have more whiskey?
Yo, this is some wild stuff here.
In Oklahoma, we are used to secrets buried under red dirt. This is the Kerr-McGee plant.
In 2025, crews are still cleaning up radioactive plutonium. Contamination is so deep that remediation has been ongoing for 50 years.
Whoa.
And it's not expected to be finished until 2039. That's groundwater, soil, and areas that were once used for cattle grazing. And the reason that any of this even came to light was 28-year-old technician Karen Silkwood. She worked here in the plutonium plant and said that she had evidence of radiation leaks and unsafe practices. In 1974, she was on the way to meet a New York Times reporter to share evidence of the contamination. But she never made it to that meeting because she crashed her car, and officials ruled it an accident, but a lot of people whisper that she was ran off the road because someone wanted her silenced. And those documents that she was taking to the New York Times reporter were never seen again. Whether it was an accident or something more sinister, the Kerr-McGee plant still has 65 years total of remediation before the area is deemed safe from contamination. What do you think, an accident or an attempt to cover up Kerr-McGee's secrets?
Man, you can't trust nothing.
Does the CIA listen through our phones and laptop cameras? Yes. I hate to say it. They can take over your smart television and turn the speaker into a microphone so that they can listen to what's being said in the room even when the TV is turned off. Hello, I'm John Kiriakou. I'm a former CIA counterterrorism officer and former senior investigator for the U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, and I'm here today to answer questions from the Honesty Box. The first one is, what did the CIA actually do? There are several answers to that question. What the CIA is supposed to do, what it is legally tasked with doing, is very simply to recruit spies, to steal secrets, and then to analyze those secrets to give the president and other senior policymakers the best information with which they can make policy. Now, in real life, it's not that simple. The CIA does whatever the president tells it to do. That could be to overthrow foreign governments. It could be to implement covert action programs, to influence the foreign media, to even kill people. It just depends on who the president is and what policy he wants to implement. What skills make a good agent? You might be surprised by the answer, actually. The CIA, when it recruits spies, when it recruits operations officers, doesn't necessarily look for the big, buff guy who works out, every day or 6 days a week. They look for people who have sociopathic tendencies, not sociopaths. Sociopaths are impossible to control because they have no conscience. They blow right through a polygraph exam, but they won't take orders. People who have sociopathic tendencies do react to a polygraph. They do experience regret or remorse. They will respond to directives and orders. I'll give you an example. When I first was recruited by the CIA, I was asked in a group of new hires what we would do if we got a cable from CIA headquarters ordering us to collect information on the Indonesian economy. You recruit the Indonesian economic secretary, you make him your best friend, you spend money on him, your wives become friends, you vacation together, but you learn that he is just not recruitable. So what do? Well, one of my colleagues said, you double down, work the case another 6 months, and hope for the best. A second colleague said, maybe you work it through your wives, maybe your wife can convince his wife to give you the information. I raised my hand and I said, you break into the Indonesian embassy and you steal it. And the instructor said, that's exactly what you do. That's a sociopathic tendency. What's the coolest piece of spy tech you ever got to use? There's kind of a dirty little secret about spy tech, and it is that 95% of it is purchased from Amazon.com. Seriously, because it is cheaper and it is quicker just to go online and buy it and then use it operationally than it is to invent it from scratch. The coolest piece of spy tech that I ever used was It was a leather briefcase. I just went into the local marketplace in Pakistan and bought it. I think it cost the equivalent of like $10. And over the course of 3 days, one of our technical officers pulled the threads out of it, installed a wire all the way around the briefcase, which could act as a listening device, and then packed the area around the wire with these little teeny tiny batteries that I had never seen before. And then he sewed the whole thing closed again. So I walked into a meeting with my little briefcase. The bad guy took the briefcase from me, opened it up, looked through it. It didn't have anything in it because it was all sewn into the lining. And we sat there and had the meeting while my colleagues half a mile away were able to listen to the entire thing. It was very cool.
Wow.
Does the CIA listen through our phones and laptop cameras? Yes. I hate to say it. There was a dramatic leak in 2017 that the CIA came to call the Vault 7 disclosures. Gigabytes worth of documents leaked by a CIA technology engineer. What he told us was that the CIA can intercept anything from anyone, number one. Number two, they can remotely take control of your car through the car's embedded computer. To do what? To make you drive off a bridge, into a tree, to make you kill yourself and make it look like an accident.
Wow.
They can take over your smart television and turn the speaker into a microphone so that they can listen to what's being said in the room even when the TV is turned off. God knows what else that they can do that hasn't been leaked. Are hitmen real? Yes. At the National Security Council, there is a committee that meets every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock to draw up something called the kill list.
What?
They sit around a table and they make a list of all the people that they want to kill that week. And then they take it back to the CIA, which has a dedicated unit. I won't tell you the name, but it has a dedicated unit that takes receipt of the list. They say, okay, number one.
Yo, that's crazy.
What do you think about that?
Epstein was a CIA Mossad asset that was recruited and was doing a blackmail operation. They haven't released the entire list of close Epstein confidants, but Israel's former prime minister was one of them.
Barak?
Yes, they got a picture of him visiting Epstein at his New York apartment. And he was well connected to Epstein, but that was all in secret. And that is the intelligence part of Mossad. And of course, they couldn't do that without coordinating with the CIA.
I ask this question now, the more I learn, there just always seems to be this connection between the CIA and the Mossad. The more you look back into history, and it's always somehow the CIA and the Mossad is there. On the day that JFK gets shot, we learn about like MLK, we learn about 9/11, and everyone's going, okay, why does it seem like there's a union here?
Mossad is like the sister of the CIA. They're joined at the hip, kind of like Siamese twins. They use each other for intel and operations and things like that. They're extremely close.
A new post from an anonymous whistleblower on Reddit is quietly gaining traction, and the claims inside it are raising eyebrows. According to this individual, who goes by Rhea, Earth wasn't discovered by visiting craft in the 20th century. She says it was flagged 2 billion years ago by an automated interstellar surveillance system operated by a multi-species council, a monitoring network that allegedly detected Earth the moment our atmosphere showed signs of early life. What makes her account stand out isn't the story, it's the technical fluency. Rhea claims a background in electro-optics, lasers, sensors, and long-range detection systems. The specific anomalies she describes, objects entering from the ocean, transmedium movements, persistent sensor tracks, they all line up closely with patterns reported by the US Navy, NORAD, and multiple European agencies over the last 2 decades. Then she introduces the most controversial piece. She claims Earth is part of a long-term observational program and that a population of ancient humans was relocated to a planet around 82 Eridani. That's a real star system about 20 light years away, long considered one of the most promising places for Earth-like planets. Now, her post does go further, describing a hostile faction outside the council, secret briefings to major governments, and advanced technologies allegedly being distributed quietly behind the scenes. It's true none of this can be verified, and yes, it could be fiction, but here's what keeps this from being dismissed outright, and the only reason I'm talking about it. The language is precise, the technical references are accurate, and the behavioral patterns she cites, from the tic-tac to deep ocean dark drones, mirror actual sensor reports released in recent years. Even the skeptics are split. Some argue this reads exactly like someone who's worked in a deeply classified program. Others say it sounds like a controlled narrative, possibly written by someone inside a 3-letter agency. Make sure to subscribe to Mostly True Alien Stories on YouTube. But until then, is this a mostly true alien story or not?
We need to save ourselves.
Whistleblowers going anonymous. You ain't about to get me.
Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre's new book has just dropped, and it is atrocious. The details. Virginia Giuffre passed away in April of a supposed, maybe an actual suicide. It's unclear. Whoa. She had insisted before her death that this book came out no matter what happens to her. She wanted this book published. It is now published. She points at many very powerful people. She doesn't name very many names. In the book, she does name Prince Andrew, but there's others that she just alludes to. She calls them Billionaire 1, Billionaire 2, Billionaire 3, a sadistic prime minister, soon to be governor of a Western U.S. state, and a former U.S. senator. These are the titles that she gave in the book, probably to protect the publisher. So who is she talking about? It's all still kind of speculative. But based on her prior accusations in unsealed Epstein documents, she talks about the sadistic prime minister. Giuffre describes an unnamed prime minister who choked her unconscious, laughing as she bled. This is Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel. And at the time, he was the prime minister when he was doing this. That is the allegation. Barak was a close Epstein associate. He visited Epstein's island and New York properties multiple times, flew on the Lolita Express, received millions from Epstein for a security firm. Who are the billionaires? She lists Billionaire 1, Billionaire 2, and Billionaire 3. Billionaire 1 is likely Glenn Dubin, the hedge fund billionaire and co-founder of Highbridge Capital. Giuffre alleged in 2016 that she was trafficked to him for sex. He and his wife, Eva, were close Epstein friends. Billionaire 2 is likely Thomas Pritzker. She claimed in court filings that she was directed to have sex with him. And Billionaire 3 is likely Leon Black. This is the private equity billionaire and Apollo Global Management co-founder. Soon to be governor of a Western state. I think that is probably Bill Richardson, New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. Giuffre accused him in a 2016 deposition of having sex with her while underage. He was a former U.S. Energy Secretary, UN ambassador, and frequent Epstein guest. He was often on the flight logs for the Lolita Express. The former U.S. Senator is likely George Mitchell of Maine, who served between 1980 and 1995. Giuffre alleged in 2016 testimony that she was directed to have sex with him. He was a frequent Epstein associate and later a Middle East peace envoy under Obama. She endured many horrors. It was absolutely terrible. Her book is atrocious. I mean, this young girl, here she is at 13 years old. This is when they snatched her up, basically, from Trump's Mar-a-Lago and used her and abused her. And everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. She was so young. This is why we want the Epstein files. We want to know who was involved because they should be held accountable. But we also want to know who was involved because we want to know who's been compromised.
13? Come on.
This interview with Sam Altman and Tucker, and I was like, we should probably just talk about this on the air because it is one of the craziest interviews I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Where Tucker starts bringing up this guy who was
a whistleblower
like
or whatever.
A whistleblower
Yeah.
who, committed suicide but doesn't look like it. And he's talking to Sam Altman about this, and Sam Altman was like, "Are you accusing me?" He's like, "No, I'm not. I'm just saying I think someone killed him."
Yeah, and should be investigated. Not just drop the case.
No, it seems like
they just dropped the case. Yeah.
Yeah,
But his parents think he was murdered.
Yeah.
The wires to a security camera were cut.
Blood in 2 rooms.
Someone else's wig was in the room.
What? Someone else's wig.
Wig.
And
he ordered DoorDash right before allegedly committing suicide.
Yeah.
Which seems unusual,
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to order pizza on second thoughts, I'll kill myself. It seems like that's a very rapid change in mindset.
Yeah, rapid, very rapid.
Who's the most famous American whistleblower before Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning? It happens in the 1960s. It's a guy who lives in Cambridge on Hilliard Street. His name was Daniel Ellsberg. Ellsberg was working for the Pentagon in the 1960s, did not agree with the Vietnam War, and read some papers that suggested that the United States government was well aware of the fact that we will not accomplish our strategic goals, fighting communism in Vietnam, and furthermore, for the resources we're allocating to the war, we can't win. We are just wasting American lives for no reason other than scoring political points. He decides these are important. He makes a bunch of photocopies of these papers, and he starts shopping them around to senators, saying, if you introduce this onto the floor of the Senate, you can't be prosecuted, and neither can I. But that's not working. Nobody wants to go forward and do it. He starts showing it to other people until it gets a little dangerous when he shows it to a correspondent for the New York Times, a buddy of his, who makes photocopies of these papers while he's away on vacation and says, I'm going to publish these. They're too important. This is when Ellsberg comes forward and said, it was me. I'm responsible for the leak. I took these papers. I just felt like it was my obligation as an American citizen to let the public know this stuff, and I am ready to accept whatever consequences come my way. When they start to publish, the New York Times publishes the first of 9 pieces in June of 1971. The Nixon administration sues and says to the Supreme Court, don't let them publish anymore. The Supreme Court rules against Nixon, and they publish all of the Pentagon Papers. Daniel Ellsberg is put on trial in 1973 under the Espionage Act of 1917, and Nixon's lawyers illegally collect evidence. Oh my God, can you believe it? And there's basically a mistrial declared. The judge tosses the case, and Ellsberg walks away free.
Wow.
A 26-year-old whistleblower who blew the whistle on OpenAI's copyright infringement has been found dead in his apartment. Suchir Balaji was a former employee at OpenAI, and he made waves earlier this year when he blew the whistle, saying, hey, they are just violating copyright law left and right. Which we know, but having an employee come out and be like, y'all, like, it's truly ridiculous how much copyright violation is going on. That must have spooked the company a bit. Now, local officials have said that they've determined this to be a suicide, right after we were told that the Boeing whistleblower's death was a suicide. But I don't know. Maybe it truly is just a string of suicidal whistleblowers for national security adjacent corporations. And we should just get used to that and accept it. Accept it. Now, I should say OpenAI has stated that they are big sad to hear about this guy's death. That's what they've said. Right at the same time, they released a video rendering AI model to the public to be able to render video, because that's what we need in the world. For real, we don't know a whole lot more about this, but I just want to say on the topic of AI and like generative AI, what are we getting out of this? Genuinely. Like, the only argument that I've seen is that this is going to automate creativity. To what end? Money? Why? What do we need money for if we can automate everything? AI 100% has a place in modern day, and it has had a place in modern day for quite some time. It's been a thing. It's been a part of our daily lives for the past more than a decade. It's just recently we put a mouth on it, and that had a wow factor that they're now cramming into everything. So, like, I'm not going to say there's no value to anything AI. At the same time, why are we rushing so hard in this one direction with it when we could instead be going any other direction? How many people in this world need access to the ability to generate video at a whim? Is that the best use of our time and energy?
That's a great point. Great point.
There are multiple whistleblowers confirming the existence of alien spacecraft. This is the kind of thing that's never happened before, where they come out and say, yes, it's real, yes, we have it, yes, it's from non-human origin, and they've been recovered and studied for years, for decades. But yet, of course, somehow this like barely even makes a dent. It trends. So this story was trending on Twitter anyway yesterday, but somehow it's not treated as major headline news, which obviously it is. And actually, there's more to it. This whistleblower had an exclusive interview on News Nation last night, which I can tell you that it was a 10-minute segment. Again, well worth watching. Go to News Nation, go to their YouTube channel. They have it up. I can tell you, I gathered my entire family. In fact, I got my kids. My kids had gone to bed, and I had them come out of their rooms.
Damn.
Because someone sent me this. I didn't know the guy did an interview on News Nation, and so my kids came out of their rooms after they'd already gone to bed. So and I got my wife to gather around, and I said, come on, kids, come on, family. It's a family moment. We're gonna watch this interview. You're gonna remember this moment for the rest of your life. And we watched the interview, and they were bored by it. Like, they didn't even care. My wife started wandering away in the middle of it. So where are you going? It's only 10 minutes. Can you spare 10 minutes to learn about aliens? I won't subject you to 10 minutes, but here's 1 minute with some additional information about what this guy says the government has recovered. Listen.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
So he's saying that we not only have the vehicles, but they actually have actual extraterrestrial aliens in their possession. Now, let me answer a few objections. There are objections that are raised, by people very close to me. Like, for example, my own wife, my coworkers here. We're not alone in the universe, but I feel alone sometimes as a UFO enthusiast, especially working here. So objections are raised, but the real objection people have, I think, is that they just they rule it out as a possibility because they don't want to think about the implications if it's true. I think that's actually what's going on, and we'll get to that in a second. But so there's the real objection, which is that there are people, especially some conservatives, who think that I can't believe this. I just can't. Not that it's unbelievable, but I can't allow myself to believe it because I think it has implications that are scary to me. But that's not usually what's said. Instead, it's something, they cite other reasons. And one of them is that this is a distraction by the government. They're trying to distract us. That's all this is. But that's nonsense, first of all, because these stories don't get a lot of attention, right? They get some attention, but they're not. It's not something that dominates the news cycle for days on end.
That's real.
Many people don't care that much. So they should care, I think, but they don't. So the distraction theory is totally baseless. It makes no sense. It's not a distraction. People don't focus on it that much. Not to mention the whole idea that the government would need to invent these kinds of stories to distract us. We're distracted all the time anyway by a million different things. So they need to come up with some totally outlandish story about aliens that they've recovered to distract us when we're already, most people, they spend 10 hours a day just scrolling randomly through TikTok and watching Netflix. You think that the American public needs to be distracted by this? It's you're flattering us, okay? As if we're all, laser focused on the important issues. And so they have to come up with some crazy distraction mechanism. That's not the case. I wish it was, but it's not. So, at most, this is just like a sideshow. People treat it like a sideshow.
That's real.
And if the government wanted to throw out minor sideshow things, they don't have to go all the way to aliens. So the theory doesn't make any sense. Also, if your argument against these stories is that you don't trust the government, well, for decades, the government denied all of this. They lied to us. They made up all kinds of ludicrous explanations for these phenomena. Now you're just parroting what the government has said for decades. The intelligence community on the record for decades has said, no, there's nothing going on. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. So who's the one trusting the government here? Besides, these are mostly whistleblowers telling us about this. These are not official government agencies. In fact, the Pentagon came out with an official statement denying this. So you can believe the whistleblower or you can believe the official statement from the Pentagon. And if you're skeptical of the government, which one are you going to trust? You're skeptical of the government, so you trust their official statement and not the whistleblower who gains nothing by saying this. He destroys his entire career, potentially puts himself, who knows? He could be prosecuted, knows what they're going to do. So if skepticism of government is one of your primary motivating things, which I totally understand, then that should lead you to lending some credibility to this.
Great point.
We had an escort coming from JFK Warfare to meet us and take us to a place called Range 19. They pick us up in a van. We get in the back of it. They take us out about 15 minutes. The van that they had us in, it didn't have any windows. You couldn't see to the front. It was just a cattle car.
Damn.
We get there. As soon as the door opened, it looked like a literal dump. One of the guys looks at my dad, saying to both of us, keep your head down, your eyes on the heels of the man in front of you, or you'll be shot.
What exactly were you guys there to do?
What he told me was that we were going down below ground to set up a shoot house. As soon as I looked past them, I could see this giant monolithic slab. The closer we got to it, I could feel this intense vibration. So the closer I got, I was like, well, I gotta check this out. So I go down to one knee, thinking I gotta tie my boots, and then I glance up underneath it, and there's absolutely nothing underneath this damn thing.
What? What?
I resigned from OpenAI because I lost faith that by themselves they will make responsible decisions about AGI. No one knows how to ensure that AGI systems will be safe and controlled. OpenAI's charter defines AGI as highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work. AI companies are making rapid progress towards building AGI. A few days before this hearing, OpenAI announced a new system, GPT-01, that passed significant milestones, including one that was personally significant for me. When I was in high school, I spent years training for a prestigious international computer science competition. OpenAI's new system leaps from failing to qualify to winning a gold medal, doing better than me in an area relevant to my own job. There are still significant gaps to close, but I believe it is plausible that an AGI system could be built in as little as 3 years. AGI could also cause catastrophic harm via systems autonomously conducting cyber attacks or assisting in the creation of novel biological weapons. OpenAI's new AI system is the first system to show steps towards biological weapons risk, as it is capable of helping experts in planning to reproduce a known biological threat. Without rigorous testing, developers might miss this kind of dangerous capability. While OpenAI has pioneered aspects of this testing, they've also repeatedly prioritized speed of deployment over rigor. I believe there is a real risk they will miss important, dangerous capabilities in future AI systems. Current AI systems are trained by human supervisors, giving them a reward when they appear to be doing the right thing. We will need new approaches when handling systems that can find novel ways to manipulate their supervisors or hide misbehavior until deployed. The super alignment team at OpenAI was tasked with developing these approaches, but ultimately we had to figure out as we went along. A terrifying prospect when catastrophic harm is possible. Today, that team no longer exists. Its leaders and many key researchers resigned after struggling to get the resources they needed to be successful.
Wow.
OpenAI will say that they are improving. I and other employees who resigned doubt they will be ready in time. This is true not just with OpenAI. The incentives to prioritize rapid deployment apply to the entire industry. This is why a policy response is needed.
Absolutely.
If any organization builds technology that imposes significant risks on everyone, the public must be involved in deciding how to avoid or minimize those risks.
Right.
That was true before AI. It needs to be true today with AI.
That's a fact. Where's the policy?
The light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was a white light, and then it was a triangle. It stopped about 100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead. I remember how thick it was. It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total, 1 light on each corner and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was really odd was the outside. The best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft.
Whoa.
I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion, and I immediately feel static electricity all over my body, and then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm.
Whoa, bro, what's going on with you?
So the IRS has totally failed to crack down on ultra-wealthy Americans who have used tax breaks in Puerto Rico to evade paying potentially billions of dollars in taxes. That's what just got revealed by this IRS whistleblower who wrote a letter obtained by the New York Times, as well as interviews with agency officials. Because back in 2012, Puerto Rico enacted a number of tax breaks aimed at encouraging wealthy Americans and corporations to move to the island in order to help revitalize its economy. And while 100% has been successful in drawing in tons of rich people to become residents of the territory, it has also long been alleged that the tax breaks enable millionaires to just avoid paying what they owe in taxes. So you have this situation where tax breaks meant to help the Puerto Rican economy are just being exploited by the ultra-rich to pad their own pockets. But also the big key thing is all while costing the islands billions of dollars in tax revenue and driving up housing costs for locals who are pushed out of their homes by rich foreigners moving to the island en masse and buying up properties. But follow to stay in the loop.
All right, guys, that was another TikTok compilation, man, about whistleblowers, conspiracies, aliens, taxes, Epstein, a whole bunch of craziness going on in the world. A whole bunch. You made it this far, you already know. You a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments, because all of this stuff is crazy. The Boeings, people committing suicide, OpenAI. They need to do something about that AI though. They need to put some type of policies and stuff in place, because that AI stuff can get out of hand. They had a sentient being that they had to terminate, allegedly. Till next time, man, self-love and positivity. Fire Squad, I got you and you know it.